This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. While debating in the House of Assembly over the new Disaster Risk Management Bill 2022, which will facilitate the establishment of a new authority dealing with risk management and related matters, Acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper levied criticism to the bill in its original state when the Free National Movement, the FNM, were in power, calling the FNM's approach nonsensical and possibly the worst piece of legislation he has ever seen, adding that it adds more bureaucracy that may possibly lead to confusion and mismanagement.
I call the bill the Count Salad bill. It mixed right up like Count Salad, I said. In fact, the entirety of the government response is all mixed up. Each day a new bureaucracy. Each day a new announcement. A Count Salad bill presented by a Count Salad government. The fact of the matter is, it was a horrendously bad bill, but though poorly constructed, the government itself did not follow. It reeked of incompetence and ineptitude, like much of what they did.
The acting prime minister goes on to state that it's still not known where the money for the domes went, making claims that the previous Dr. Minnis administration spent $6 million on 200 domes, further asserting that it is not known where all of the money for the Disaster Reconstruction Authority went, calling the financials overall a disaster.
We don't know what happened with the donations. The reports were never provided. I'm talking about accountability, transparency. We still don't know what happened in the case of the missing generator on Grand Bahama. One of the most shameful things to have occurred in our history is the former administration's handling of the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian. And then they come here playing on brand new, Madam Speaker. I don't recall another instance where in the face of such tragedy such as this one, that we received so much grace, such bounty of generosity, offered such goodwill, and hope were given so freely, only to be squandered.
Leader of the official opposition, Michael Pintard, responded to Mr. Cooper in a point of order, stating that he is misleading the House by reiterating the same old tired news, while the opposition leader levied his own accusations of financial mishap, claiming that the government has the ability to display the spending of the FNM and that the Davis administration has missed reporting deadlines on COVID spending themselves. According to the Minister of Public Service, Fred Mitchell, the delay in signing a new industrial agreement is not due to any fault of the government, and any indication of a public fight between the government and the Bahamas Public Service Union, the BPSU, in wake of the union gathering outside of Parliament on Wednesday. Today, Mr. Mitchell says there must be some other agenda or reason for the unions wanting to pick a public fight. He says government nor the negotiators are interested in such a thing occurring.
It is easy to get confused by what you see in the public domain on these matters. What you see in the press does not represent the facts and should not be taken as a sign of any confusion in a general way about matters relating to labor in the public sector. You will all remember from the start that the government's position has been one of seeking to solve labor issues. In fact, all contracts were settled, but for one or two. The main outstanding one, of course, is that of the general public service. Ministers were being stopped by public servants asking why the delay. The delay was not due to anything on the government side. We were ready.
Minister Mitchell goes on to condemn the actions by unionists on Wednesday, calling the display and confrontation with the acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper unnecessary and disrespectful, while further calling the manner in which they approached the acting Prime Minister as hostile.
You know, civility has always been the position of the Bahamas government, not hostility and hectoring in public. But this has been mistaken in some quarters for weakness. It is important for the public to know that the government takes its responsibilities to workers in the public sector seriously. We also must ensure, however, that public funds are wisely spent. We think that the benefits and privileges and salaries and increments that have been given this month and will be given this month meet all those criteria. I have made the point before that members of Parliament have rights too. One of them is the right of free speech, the other is the right of access to Parliament. Those who try to deny that are involved in unlawful, unconstitutional behavior. This is all the more disrespectful and unnecessary when the views being advanced are simply contrary to the truth and are a show of sound and fury, signifying absolutely nothing.
While stating that the union's matter should be discussed privately, Minister Mitchell said that public service employees will receive money owed to them in time for the holidays. He also took time to congratulate his Minister of State, Pia Glover-Roll, and her team for successfully completing negotiations. Former Prime Minister Perry Christie led the Electoral Observation Mission of the Organization of American States, OAS, in overseeing the 2022 general elections of Dominica on December 6 and commends the island's state citizens on the peaceful conduct of the elections. The OAS, in its preliminary report, while noting that former Prime Minister Christie was joined in the mission by 16 experts and observers from 10 countries. The team was spread across 15 constituencies of Dominica and observed the process from the opening on polling stations throughout the tabulation of ballots and the transmission of results. During its deployment, the mission engaged with key stakeholders, including electoral and government authorities, political parties and candidates, including independent candidates and civil society actors and other international observers, to gather perspectives on the organization of the elections and the overall electoral process. After receiving the Turks and Caicos Islands Governor Nigel Dakin and the Premier Charles Washington Mizik on a courtesy call at his office on Tuesday, Governor General Sir Cornelius A. Smith then hosted a dinner at the Balmoral Club on Tuesday evening, December 6, for the Turks and Caicos delegation during their official visit to the Bahamas. Minister of Education, Technical and Vocational Training Gladys Hannah Martin, Minister of National Security Wayne Munro, and Leader of the Official Opposition Michael Pintard were also in attendance, along with a number of officials from both the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands. Historically, in 1766, after being controlled by the Spanish, the French, and the British, Turks and Caicos became a part of the Bahamas colony and was placed under the Bahamian government. But in 1848, the islanders petitioned for and were granted separate colonial status from the Bahamas after they complained that Bahamian taxes were too heavy on their salt industry. Today, the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos cooperate in many areas of mutual interest, including border patrols to defend against drugs, weapons, and human smuggling. And finally, BTC, along with the Ministry of Works and Utilities, partnering with the straw market to make navigating the historic downtown site easier. For months, straw vendors have complained about the lack of signal throughout the market. This morning, signs could be seen inside and outside of the market for tourists and locals. Chief Commercial Officer for BTC, Andre Knowles, says these signs are essential to identify the different sections and allow for ease of location.
Today, BTC is here at the downtown straw market to make our presence felt and to share our love with the straw vendors and artisans. We want to ensure that this historic straw market is accessible to all who visit, and persons are able to move around freely without having to ask too many questions about where they're going. So today we partner with the Ministry of Works and Utilities to erect BTC branded signage throughout the market, as we have done in the past. Each sign will feature the Powered by BTC logo, and hopefully this will pique the interest of the tourists so they can learn a little bit more about BTC as well.
In addition to that, BTC has launched their own tourist SIM card. The SIM, at a cost of $25, will allow tourists to have unlimited data and calls while they are here in the Bahamas. Senior Manager at BTC Marketing Carol Barnett says this initiative is important for the country to be able to keep up with ever-changing technology and more visitors coming to the Bahamas every year.
The tourism is important because, this area is a mecca for tourists. They come, they buy their straw goods, and they want to be able to have another opportunity other than roaming to be able to communicate with family and friends. So we provided the tourism, make it easy. It's a very reasonable approach, for tourists, and they're able to make their calls and connect with family and friends while they're here in the Bahamas.
In the coming weeks, BTC will also finalize the provision of Wi-Fi in the straw market area, and visitors will be able to use the connection without having to use data. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jerino Saunders. Thanks so much for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.